Hello and welcome to the Just Mates podcast, where we aim to destigmatise men not speaking up about mental health. Remember to follow our social pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Just Mates Pod. You can listen to and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor and Apple Podcast. All the links are provided in the description. In today's episode, we will be discussing bullying. Bullying as a general, types of bullies, personal experiences and things that we think we should enforce parents and even just friends to look out for.
You don't really there's so many different types of bullying. Sometimes it's quite hard to identify if you're actually being bullied,
and
though.
As well as that, I think a lot of people have been through certain situations and not even known that it's actually bullying.
Yeah, I know when I was looking back at it now, when I was definitely bullied, at the time I didn't really think it. It just kind of, I just thought they were just being mean. Maybe it's me, sort of thing. And I think that's where kids struggle a bit who are bullied. I don't know. Do you want to talk about your situation?
I guess what happened? I kind of can relate to that as well, because when you're going through it, you're kind of scared of telling someone anyway, because you don't want them to not understand, or you think they won't understand. And two, it's more so like an insecurity, like you're scared that once you say it to someone, it becomes real. I think that's what's more horrible about the whole bullying scenario. I guess based on personal experiences, I can speak on in primary school maybe, and maybe a bit of secondary as well. Obviously, being a Pakistani Muslim, it kind of makes you stand out in a group of a predominantly white school anyway. And being one of the only Asians in my primary school year, and probably one of very few in my year in secondary too, you kind of feel like a victim without being a victim. And I guess that's just that, like we've mentioned in previous pods, victim culture. But then there were certain things that were picked up on about me, and people used to take the piss really, and I guess a lot of it was based on my nationality being Pakistani, and people would obviously use the P word, which I'm sure a lot of people know what that means, and call me that, but not think anything of it. So now, even if my friends say it as a joke, not that they would, but if anyone was to say it as a joke to me, even though I've got thicker skin now, I'd still relate that back to my previous memories. So it's more so the emotion and feeling behind that word than the actual destruction of the word itself.
So was this friends that?
No, I guess it was just you could say passers-by and people in school, just randomly would probably say it. I guess when you're younger, kids don't, not that it's an excuse, but kids don't think about that, do they? And there were numerous times, and I can actually pinpoint, I can remember these off the top of my head, like it was yesterday. We used to play football all the time, outside of school, and I'd walk back from wherever I'm walking from, obviously back then not driving. There were probably at least 3 incidents where I had van drivers drive past and shout the word and shout UP and then C word, and just out of nowhere, there was no, I didn't provoke it, I didn't say anything, but I can remember these times of just random drivers just driving past and shouting this, and I think is a level of immaturity, but then it's helped me become a stronger person and more resilient.
I can't relate to it at all, mate. It's just that whole concept is completely foreign to me. You know what I mean?
Well, ironically, yeah. You know, I mean, I think a lot of...
I had it very, very recently about being called, British people are just arrogant and they're just bricks or something, and it's just hang on a minute. It's so I could kind of relate to you in the same circumstances. The guy was oh, you're British. Oh, well, British people are arrogant. It's yeah, but do you know me?
Yeah, of course. And a lot of it is just based on face value, which we always say as well. And like where we used to live prior to where we are now, like, you know, when Halloween comes around, people play pranks and stuff. We used to get it all year round, and we used to have this report book that we had to tell like the neighborhood watch people. And it got that bad that we had an actual book to record these things in, where people were throwing eggs and stones at our windows and stuff just because we were a foreign family.
What?
So, I mean, there was one instance where I remember where it was Halloween, and where we used to live, our front door got caved in egg yolks, eggshells, and it dried over overnight. We obviously didn't hear it.
Right.
We didn't see anyone do it. And then the following morning, I remember like my mum scraping all of the eggshells off the door. And that was when we kind of had that kind of feeling that we just didn't belong, and it was out of nowhere. We were we're the nicest people ever. My mum's literally the nicest person, and we got treated that way, and that kind of led on to my like confidence being a bit blown as well.
That's disgusting, mate.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of instances I can say that I've felt bullied by neighborhood students, kids, even in school. Like, I guess because of that, sorry, I'm battling on here, but I guess even in school, like I had no confidence really. Like, I'd always seek, and I still do this, whether it be about my work, and you know this, like I'm always questioning myself, whether it be about my work, how I look, what I'm wearing. I'll always seek reassurance subconsciously or even directly. And I guess that's based on how I was treated as a kid. And it does have a detrimental, long-lasting effect on you. Like, I can't say that I'll ever forget it.
Tough to hear, mate.
I mean, that's just one instance, but there's so many other forms of bullying, and I can guarantee you all of these bullies that would have said these things, looking at me now, wouldn't even dare to say anything like that.
No, I've got...
Because they just know me now. Not even that, but I guess people grow up, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and kids are savage, mate. I mean, I remember when I was in school, it was kind of weird. Didn't really. I kind of grew up like being thick as shit, because it's quite ironic, to be honest, because I played a lot of games and I didn't really care. Like, I just did whatever, and I just whatever. That's what I did, and like, because I was in like bottom and middle set for a couple of classes and stuff, that really kind of labelled me a little bit as like kind of an idiot. Of course. So that's like, I don't know if there's like a word for that, but it's not like people weren't directly bullying me for it. It's just kind of like little comments, like
it's like I know what you mean. And do you feel like now, obviously academically you've proven yourself to be very smart, the job you're in as well, like you've climbed the ranks as well, do you feel like what happened in those days still affects you now?
Yeah, it does, mate, because it's always a chip on my shoulder, you know. And it's like, how do I mean, I remember the first incident where like I did my first ever GCSE exam, and everybody was worried, like in my family, teachers, that I was going to absolutely flunk it. And I got like 100% in it, right? That's like unheard of. And I beat every kid in the year, right? And the kid, I remember this day. I remember it because I felt so smug, because I walked in before we went go into assembly, and the kids were going up to the teachers going, he cheated, he must have cheated, he's an idiot, like right in front of me.
That's so nasty. Like you said, kids don't have filters, man.
Yeah. And then that's what I realised. Like, hang on a minute, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. It's like, because they would pin me as stupid, because so automatically I think I was stupid. Therefore I wouldn't try. And then as soon as that like I did well in that, it was something just clicked, and I was like, hang on a minute, like I can do this better than you. Like,
yeah. I think from that, it just shows as well, and everyone's can relate to this, is a lot of the time the things that we do, the things that we achieve, subconsciously we're trying to prove it to someone else before that we're trying to prove to ourselves that we can do it, because we've been through some form of trauma or bullying or even just snide comments where we think, well, this XYZ person has said this to me, I have to prove this person wrong. Whereas I don't think that's what the root of our success should lie from. It should be because we want to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's the effects of bullying.
Yeah, but I'm kind of thankful that sort of happened to me, to be honest, because it does give you fuel. Like, it gives me fuel, a lot of it. Like, I've had teachers pass comments and things, and and other related people, and even some family members like just said things to me saying, you're not academic, and it's like, well, f- you. Like,
yeah, no, I get it.
I did have like another incident because you said primary, and I said I wasn't bullied in primary, but I was bullied in secondary. Going into year 7, this is quite not a funny story because it's quite bad, but like the ending is quite ironic. I basically what was I in year 7 or something, and there was these kids in year 9 who were like not proper rough, just like assholes. And there was this one kid who obviously had like a small man syndrome in the year what was it, 9, and he would like always square up to me because I was the same size. And he went up to me one day and he was like, oh, what are you gonna do? I can't remember what the whole concept of it was, but I basically just pushed him and I said, just get off me before I lay you out or something. It was like a year 7. And his mate, he ran over to his mates who were like 6 foot and like, he pushed me, come help. And I'd already pegged it. And I think some of my mates some people in the year thought, oh, that kid's got balls, like fair enough. So I made friends
just from that one incident.
Yeah. And like I knew one of my mates at the time. He like introduced me to a couple of other people, and like I ended up in this like very small group. And then as the years go on, this is like the druggy group. Like this is the I don't want to say druggy, but like kind of above everyone else, like roughest sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like I started to chill out with these guys. It was quite cool. And then one day, probably like year 8 or something, they just snapped. They just turned on me. It was really weird. I didn't really see it coming, but they just turned on me like immediately. I think it's when they started like getting involved with girls, and then they started smoking weed and stuff. Like nothing wrong with that, obviously, but like that's like at that.
Yeah, but at that age, it's an ego kind of thing.
Pretty much. And like I used to play Xbox with these guys like every night. They were my mates, and then all of a sudden, like it was just, oh, Sam, you're a nerd. Oh, Sam, you do this. Oh, Sam, you're a virgin. It was like what? Like what's going on? I don't get it. And like there was these subtle comments like consistently about like made to me on like, this is cyberbullying essentially. Like so they said things to me in school, but it was much worse. So like the online. So as time went on, like cut the story short, like I had some comments said to me, and I retaliated, and the guy was like, if you tell anyone, I'll have you stabbed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I basically freaked out because this guy knew some rough people. And I told my mum, and basically, yeah, he got buggered, police, everything.
The thing is, a lot of these things are empty threats from people, but they don't realise the depth of what they're saying.
Yeah, and this is what, like people. He would make comments like this, and then it would spread across the air. Oh, Sam's this. Oh, Sam's that. When it's like I'm just playing games with my mates. Like I'm just doing what a kid should do and I have fun. And it's like it's not like I was a loser or anything, but it had like a domino effect from people's opinions of me, and that kind of made me feel a bit like crap for a couple of years. But like the funny part of that story is one of the kids who was my best mate at the time. He is in prison now, or he was in prison. He was like a proper big drug dealer, big drug dealer. So he dropped out of school. Like he went to another school, dropped out, got a girl pregnant, and ended up in prison or something. And he might be out now. I'm not too sure.
Hopefully he's not listening.
Oh, I don't care, mate. No, he's not. He's not on Facebook or anything. I don't really care. He sent my mum like random messages, like a couple like 5 years ago, basically just saying like, "Oh, Becky, you look good" or something. It was yeah. So like, my mum was like, "What the hell?" So I messaged him and I said, "If you speak to my mum again, I'll smash your head in." So not like that, but like, you know what I mean. Like, if you speak to a mum, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, of course.
But no, it's quite funny, really. I do that as like an ego boost sometimes. Like, people who used to say shit about me, I just go and look at their Facebook profile and it just lightens my day up.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, going back on this as well, like a lot of the bullies that you can just, do you know what, when you say the word bully, you just know what they look like. You just know their persona. And a lot of it is based on, I think, their own insecurities as well.
Of course it is, mate.
And they just have big egos. I mean, there's a description I'm reading here. I'm just going to read off of this just quickly, and you can tell me what you think as well. And it's the type of bullies that this is labelling is popular bullies. So it says popular bullies have big egos. They are confident and condescending. They usually have a group of followers, which is so true, and may feel like they rule the school. These bullies have a sense of entitlement that can stem from their popularity, size, upbringing, or just their socio-economic status. Right. They thrive on physical power and control they have over their victims, and may boast about their bullying. So that this rings a bell to me. Like, a lot of people there'd be a group of popular bullies or a group of people, but you'd always see one person in that group of bullies that just doesn't fit in so much, but they're just going along with the crowd.
Speaking of like going along with the crowd, right? I don't know if my mates listen to this. Like, one of my closest mates now, Alex, when he joined, he got bullied quite badly at school.
Joined the school.
When he joined, he got bullied quite badly, and he knows this, and I didn't join in with it, but I didn't stop it. You know what I mean? So I was with a group of mates that were bullying him, but I didn't stop it. And then I think, I can't remember what the whole scenario. Basically, I was walking to class. Me and Alex got in like a scuffle. I pushed him over. Or something. All my mates laughed, and then like something just like snapped. I was like, "This is wrong. Like, I can't do this." And so basically, like, Alex, I spoke to Alex, and like I started playing games with him and stuff. And I was like, "Look, guys, like, you know, Alex is an all right guy. Like, he's a good guy." And then, you know, long story short, he ended up being with us in the group, and people apologized.
Sam,
so.
The thing is, a lot of people, that's great that you had that kind of mind takeover, but a lot of people that are being bullied, we can't forget, they don't have someone that's on their back, like has their back, or can even say something like that to kind of shove everyone else off. And I guess I want to lead on a story that I just got told recently, and it's obviously about bullying. So a lot of people don't realise there's disabilities that people have that aren't visible. You can't see them. So when you look at someone, you don't really know from face value what they're going through. And so a bully's not going to look at someone and think, oh, well, their nan and granddad has passed away recently, so I'm not going to bully him. They don't care. They don't care about the background of someone. They just want that sense of entitlement and power. But that one little comment that a bully can make that person who's got that hidden disability become suicidal. Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, mate.
Like, I don't think bullies, or you can't even say like bullies care about what you're going through. They just want to add to it or make themselves look better. I just think, I don't know if bullies would even listen to this, or if someone has done something that they feel like could be a form of bullying but not known they were bullying someone. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I want people to understand that, even parents listening, that just because your child or one of your family members isn't showing they're being bullied, just check in on them.
Well, I'll say a statement, mate, and this will make you relate to every person that is bullied, and it will get you in the mindset of what it's like to be a bully. Because to an extent, I kind of have been, but without knowing it, right?
Okay.
Hurt people. You get it?
Yeah.
So that person's hurting, so he takes it out, or he or she takes it out on the other person. So even if it's conscious or subconscious, that's what happens. Like I know, for argument's sake, when I was growing up with my mum, if I had a really rough day at school, or like I don't know, something was happening outside of that, I would take it out on my mum, sort of thing. And that is, in a sense, is kind of bullying, right? To an extent. So if you take it from that point of view, you can sympathise with them, and like I can kind of sympathise with the guy that went to prison in a way, because I know something that was going on at home with his.
And they know no different, really. I think, as well as that, though, like, it just goes to show, like, even we can relate it back to things we've said. Your child will imitate what they see around them. So if in their household they see domestic abuse, that person could become a bully themselves. They could go the other way and think, I'm never treating someone like that. But often, more times than not, people see that and think it's okay. So like what you've just said, hurt people. It's so true. Like, a lot of these bullies probably back at home had a shit childhood. Their parents have split up. Someone's died and they've not dealt with it properly. I mean, it's a knock-on effect, but I just feel like even bullies should get therapy.
Oh, definitely, mate. Yeah.
And back in the day, well, even in school, obviously you have your counselling, you have your there's obviously people in school that can help and you can talk to, but I don't think therapy is introduced enough in school to talk to someone. And I feel like at that age, that's where your brain develops, where your character develops, you develop as a person. If you're not taught how to control these emotions, or that you can talk to someone, it just has a long-term lasting effect. So maybe if teachers or parents are listening, maybe a therapy should be something that should be instilled in the curriculum.
Mate, listen, like they do have support counsellors at schools, like for a lot of places they do have that, but I do think it's like an issue with capacity and stuff. You can't have a counsellor for every single kid, but at the same time, the parents should probably look into that for them or something.
Or maybe parents should do kind of like a counselling module or something, because a lot of parents might not understand themselves. And there's a lot of kids, and this person I spoke to recently about their bullying issue, they are, that even me, we're quite stubborn people, so we don't feel like people would understand us. So if at that age we already think that we can't talk to anyone, going forward in life, it's just going to be like we bottle everything up. And I just think, I know it's about capacity, and like you said, in a school with 80-90 students in each year, you can't have a counsellor for each student. But I do feel like, and not everybody needs counselling, but there's a lot of people out there that are too scared to even ask, or too stubborn to even say that they need it.
A kid isn't going to know if he wants counselling, so it's up to. I don't want to put all the. I've got a couple of mates who are teachers, and you don't really want to pin that on the teacher. So you are right; it is the parents' responsibility, and often with the bad kids, the parents don't understand that.
Yeah. I think as well, like with teachers are very understanding. Like, we have to give them credit. Like, say if a student is playing up and it's out of character, they will automatically assume or think that something's going on outside of school, which is making them act up. Because often, like we said, like we imitate things we see. So say if your parents are splitting up, in the background at home, you're kind of going to have that feeling of neglectness and like being alone, and that will reflect on how you behave with people at school. So it's all and it is the parents' responsibility. I guess there is no other way around it. But until the child voices how they feel, it's not really going to be a known issue.
See your point.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's a hard one. But like with me in primary school, I never told anyone that. Or I never even told these bullies that stop it kind of thing. I just let them do it. And same in secondary school. I'd never really say to a teacher that I'm going through this. I think I did once or twice, and it was half dealt with. But even then, bullies aren't just going to be like, well, someone's told me to stop, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah, but if I could give advice to my younger self, it would 100% be tell people, because at the end of the day, like, because you think that your reputation and stuff is going to be ruined or something, or you're going to be like, oh, he told mummy. It's like, yeah, well, so what? I told mummy. You're getting like screwed now, mate. Screw you. You know?
Yeah, I think it's also a sense of fear as well, isn't it, when you're being bullied, that if you do tell someone, that the bully will find out and make it even worse for you. And you often see that in TV programs, films and stuff, like someone tells a teacher and then the bully approaches that kid again and says, well, if you do this again, I will stab you, like what happened with you, or say some stupid shit like that. And I guess it scares the victim even more.
I just say, like, if anybody listening, just like, if it's a kid, just like tell, like, screw it. He's not going to do anything. Like, especially if you tell the exact, like, even if it's cyberbullying, copy and paste it and show it. Like, show it.
Yeah.
Screw it.
I think that's as well, like with cyberbullying, it's easy to say, oh, you're just scared of a screen, but that threat can feel so real and like in person. So I don't think a lot of people kind of understand cyberbullying. Like, do you feel like back in the day you understood it?
No, I didn't know it was cyberbullying. I didn't even know if it was bullying. Like, this is what I was saying. Like, at the time, I was kind of blaming myself. Like, maybe I am a loser. Maybe I am this. Like, maybe they're just, you know, I'm not cool like they are anymore. You know, like I didn't know that. And then once that comment was made to me, I was like, that's it. I don't care. I'm telling now. I don't care. And then my mum went ape.
It's that courage, though. You have to have the courage to say something. Yeah. Just with depression and anxiety, just with anything. Until you talk about it, it doesn't become real, really.
No, of course. What about to put a lot of emphasis on school bullying now? What about workplace stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of that happens. I feel maybe it could be like hierarchical.
Yeah.
So like someone who's a senior kind of picks on the junior or picks on the office secretary or something, because to make them feel diminished, really. And I think that happens a lot, like even subconsciously, like the way you can word an email can really throw someone else off. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you say one word out of place or read one word out of place, and you can misconstrue it in your mind and feel like they're attacking you.
Yeah, and a lot of the time it's done in a passive-aggressive... I mean, it has to be done in a passive-aggressive way, doesn't it? In the workplace.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah.
What, from another colleague?
Not a colleague. Well, yeah, in other jobs, yeah. Well, a colleague and stuff when I was working in a supermarket. Like... The only time it's been like close to something physical was when I was working in a supermarket, and this kid like would just always walk past me, staring at me, like you know what I mean when I say like fight eyes. You know what I mean? Like for no reason whatsoever, just to like almost like intimidate. It was really weird. And I like so sad looking back at it. But I psyched myself up one day. I walked in and I stared. I did not break eye contact. Like, and he didn't he didn't know what to do.
I think you're right. Like sometimes it just takes that moment of being brave, doesn't it? Like it's interesting you said that about supermarkets. I mean, I was in retail for 5 years and I saw my fair share of shit, really. But like, do you feel like, I don't think anyone would really say this, but so you know how you can get rude customers, either shouting down the phone or screaming at you in the middle of an aisle saying, well, can you go and find this for me, blah blah blah. Do you feel like a lot of these rude customers are probably troubled as well at home? Adults as well. I'm not just saying kids, I'm saying adults as well. Do you feel like that's a form of bullying when you kind of unprovokedly attack like a supermarket worker just out of no reason verbally?
You find, mate, and this is I'm probably, I don't want to lay like a blanket statement, but like you find that people that are rude to people in retail have never worked in retail themselves.
Of course, you have to go through it to understand it. I mean, I was there for 5 years, and pretty much every year of that time there, I always told myself, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. But for a lot of people, that is a career. And I don't want to instill it in people's minds that you shouldn't work at a place like that. But for me, I think I built a thicker skin through retail because you just deal with your fair share of stupid customers, really. And even like bad workers.
Yeah, I dealt with a lot of bad customers, like a lot. Like when I managed dry cleaning and stuff, and customers going in and just like it's funny though because you can just look at them and smile passive aggressively, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? Hit me? Like, you know, it's just like, thank you, sir. How may I help you? Is that all? Thank you. Bye bye.
I do remember, I think after every single day of working, my jaws would hurt so much from like fake smiling all day. But you're right. Like, I think as well, it does build a thicker skin, but there are people that are troubled that take their anger out on strangers because they know that they're never going to see them again.
And it's like, you work here, what are you going to do, mate? Sort of thing, you know? And I had my fair share of that. And if you've got a manager that doesn't care, which I did when I first started, he did not care at all. He hated me.
What about there's another category I'm reading here. It's relational aggression. So that is, relational aggression is a sneaky and insidious type of bullying that often goes unnoticed by parents and teachers. Sometimes referred to as emotional bullying, relational aggression is a type of social manipulation where teens try to hurt their peers or sabotage their social standing.
Yeah, I need an example.
Okay, so in general, girls tend to use relational aggression more than boys, especially between 5th and 8th grades. These girls are often called mean girls or frenemies.
Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you mean.
So, so it's like, I guess it's hierarchy, kind of like standing out.
It's social status, isn't it?
Yes, it's like you'll have the posh girls with like the Jimmy Choo bags that pick on the girls with the Paul's Boutique bags.
You seem to.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's always that sense of, and like there'll be like, for example, there'll be girls that come in with obviously you have a uniform, and that's the whole point of a uniform, so everyone looks the same and you can't pinpoint people out. But and I'll go on to a further point from this, but so you'll have like certain students that come in with like Gucci man bags or like a Prada cap or something, and they'll pick on someone who's wearing like a Primark bag or something. So I guess that is relational aggression in a sense.
Yeah, I've kind of witnessed it before, but I've never well, I kind of have experienced that. It's difficult, really. I can't pinpoint it.
I think recently, maybe in the last few years, they kind of banned what they called big brands to be worn in school because of that. exact reason of bullying.
Yeah.
So people were coming in with like Gucci jackets and coats and stuff, and basically either being picked on themselves, like things were getting stolen, or they were picking on others because they didn't have what they had.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a school with like a bunch of posh guys, right? Like rich guys, and I didn't really. I mean, the closest thing I've kind of had to that is like I had a flip phone and they had the new iPhone. You know what I mean? Like I can kind of relate to that, but it's like what they weren't nasty to me. They just kind of made passing comments, I guess, maybe.
But that still has a detrimental effect, because then you go home and you start crying or you start getting upset, and then you take it out on your mum saying, Mum, you're not buying me this, you're not buying me that. And then it just has that negative like vibe and atmosphere at home as well. Because then you start to think that, well, you start to unappreciate what you've got.
Yeah.
Because there's people that were probably looking at you with your flip phone thinking, I don't even have a phone.
Yeah, that's actually true. But you also, at the same time, you can't really help it. You know, it's like
you always want better.
You do, but then you just got to find your comfort zone. Like I've got an iPhone 7 now. I couldn't give a rat's ass if I had that new iPhone. Although I'd like it, it'd be quite nice. But I don't know. I think you just get comfortable. What you have.
Of course, and I think I probably am like this myself, because of what I've witnessed, what I've seen. I guess it's made me kind of a subconsciously snobby person, because I don't want people to look at me and think, oh, he can't afford this or he can't afford that, which is why I kind of take pride in how I look, and that's kind of a lack of confidence because of what I went through as a child.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it will always, even like childhood memories and things we've been through as a kid, whether it happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you will still think about it. But I think it's just, you can look back and reflect and show yourself that you've come through it more than anything.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of another example I've had that, but it's like, I suppose you can kind of relate to this, maybe, in a way. Getting the new Call of Duty every year, sort of. And if you didn't have it, what are you doing?
It's funny you say that. So with me, it was more so FIFA. I'm a FIFA, but I'm like rubbish at it. But I still play it every year, and I get it every year. But like I'd always get it in January. Like back in the day. Now I often do get it when it's out, but I'd always usually get it in January, February, when it's like 4 months old and it's a bit like £10 cheaper or something. Whereas I'd always kind of experienced that, oh, you're still got the old FIFA kind of thing. And it wasn't hurtful comments from these people, but it does get to your head. Like you're thinking, well, I want the newest game, really. And I do remember actually when I was like maybe 13, 14, getting really upset at my mum, because at that point I was playing PSP a lot, and with no fault of my mum, she didn't do anything, or my family even. Like they got me not so great games, but what were they to know? Like they didn't really know what I wanted to play. And I kind of like threw a hissy fit on my birthday because I didn't get the games that I wanted. But that was more so not because I actually wanted them games. It was because everybody else had them.
Exactly the same as me. Exactly.
And now I look back and I think, what a stupid little boy. But I think at that point, you just kind of want what everyone else has. You don't actually look at the value of the product.
No, not at all. No, I'm much more comfortable now with just... If everybody, I mean, like I'm kind of the opposite now. If everybody's getting something, I'm just like, so what? You know what?
Just like you said with the iPhone, I mean, it's a working phone. You can do whatever you want on it. You can watch your memes. You can watch TikTok. You can do everything that you want. It just because of how something looks, you don't really need to get it.
No, but it's like there's that whole thing when you're a kid, isn't it? It's like, oh, the people might make comments, blah blah blah, and like 90% of the time they don't. Like.
Yeah, it's all in your head a lot of the time as well. I think, what do you think about, we can't speak on it, but like you may witness it, bullying within parents to parents?
I can relate. I don't want to dob my mum in on this. I can relate to it from my mum, like, because I don't remember too much when I was a kid. I can kind of. Yeah, no, I've seen it, mate. Yeah, all types of it, physical, verbal. I've seen it. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
And the effect that has on a kid is worse than anything. It's
because they look at that and see that as a reflection of what they could do.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like when I saw violence in the house, growing up, when I saw violence, I thought, he can be violent. I can be violent. Like I didn't pass that through at school because I didn't know it was acceptable. But in the house, it's like, right, you want to be violent? I will be violent back. You know what I mean? When it's just mimicking behaviours that, okay, this is acceptable in the house. Therefore, like if you're doing it and you're above me, therefore I can do it. So whatever. And then that just it's putting gasoline on the fire. And that it really just erodes you, to be honest.
Do you know what? Even small things like, say, for example, you're picking your child up and there's one parking space left, right? And one of the parents has got there before the other one, but they've got to the car park at the same time, but one's just got there quicker. You probably do see it. Like you'll see the parents screaming at each other in the middle of the car park. But what kind of image does that show the kids?
Well, it just show. Do you know what I mean? The only thing it really showed me, because I wasn't young when I saw it, right? I wasn't, fresh out the womb. I wasn't. I was a teenager, and God only knows I had I wouldn't categorize it as anger problems, but something along those lines. It kind of made me think, you know what? My mum is just a grown-up kid at the end of the day, like a grown-up kid at the end of the day. And so's this guy. Like, not to pin everything on my mum, but it's like people still have these issues even years and years on. So that's what it kind of highlighted to me. Not to say that my mum isn't, my mum's a little girl, because she's not. But it's it made you realise, people do have these issues, even years and years.
I think as well, back in the day, parents back in the day when they were kids, they wouldn't have thought about, or even teenagers thought about therapy. It just probably wasn't an advertised thing back then. Whereas I guess I shouldn't say the word lucky at all, but I guess we are very advantaged in the sense that we have so many things around us and people that we can contact if we are feeling these array of emotions. There are so many hotlines that we can contact, so many therapists, so many counselors. So if we are feeling a certain type of way, we know that there's this option there. Whereas the parents had to grow up with a thick skin, deal with it, and then they translate that behavior onto their kids because they haven't actually dealt with it themselves.
That's so true. That's
so I mean, going forward, I do feel like generationally, or whatever the word is, we will be able to be good parents in the sense that we can offer these support systems for our children.
Yeah.
Do you not think? I think, for example, not to brag, but I think I'll be a great dad because I'll be supportive.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that you kind of, when you grow up, you want to surpass what your parents did. And that should be key for everybody. Not
to say they're not good enough, but just you have to strive for more no matter what.
You want to try and better what your parents did. In some areas maybe more than others, and in turn, so if you had a bad father, if you've got the right mindset, you're going to be a good father, and everything that categorizes a bad father, so you want to turn that on its head.
Yeah, and I think it's conversations like this that people will listen in on that kind of might even switch them from becoming that bad person to a good person, because it just goes to show that everything, you've said this before, everything has a domino effect, has a knock-on effect. So one good action can literally lead on to 10 different more good actions happening. So just because you see something bad happening, try and flip it on its head and do something that's the complete opposite.
Nice, mate.
Good energy like literally attracts good energy,
Yes,
doesn't
mate,
it?
It does. Any other types of? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's what? I mean, like you can't really say which one's worse because people are receptive to different types of bullying. But I've been more witness to emotional bullying as opposed to, verbal bullying as opposed to physical. Like I don't know. What would you say is a bigger?
As a kid, you could probably say 80% I was verbally bullied, but there were instances where I wasn't punched or beaten up or anything, but that doesn't mean that the verbal bullying isn't the equivalent to that. Like, there were so many things that were said that hurt me, and they still do. Like the P word now, I can't stand it. Like there are people that think they have a pass on it, and even if other Pakistanis use that word, I don't like it. I just have such a negative connotation with the word. It just throws me off. But there were instances where, like, I laugh now, but it just wasn't nice. Where when I was a kid, I used to. When I was bullied, I was like, my trainers were taken and thrown over somebody else's garden. I was forced to lay on a field, and they said, don't move. And I never really spoke about these things happening at the time. I never told my parents. My mum's probably listening to me in the next room now and probably realising that I never mentioned this, but these kind of things have a shitty effect on you mentally. And going forward, like, I'd always seek reassurance, or I'd always question somebody's motive, like somebody's like actions, because I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm just nodding.
It's just like, for example, growing up, like when we used to play football and stuff, I'd always ask the person that's asked me, oh, who's coming, kind of thing, because I was so scared not scared, but worried that they're just saying that they're going to turn up and they're not going to be there. It never happened. Like, that never happened, but I'd always seek reassurance.
Oh, mate.
It's horrible now that I'm talking about it out loud, but I guess there's probably thousands of kids out there that have been through what I've been through, maybe even 10 times worse, and just not told their parents.
You do just need to tell them, like, straight up there and then. I mean, my biggest regret is probably not telling my mum soon enough, because I kind of tell like a little fib. Like I said I showed my mum. No, my mum's MI6. She went on my computer and she went nuts. She saw me. Yeah. She saw I was upset, and I kind of explained it, and then she went onto the computer. And then she went nuts. Like, she's crazy. Like, in a good way. Like, very protective. And my biggest regret is not mentioning something earlier on, because it nipped it in the bud for me. It nipped the bullying in the bud. I mean, I still had kind of like passing comments, but it wasn't anything.
But you wish you'd done it sooner.
And I think something, if you're in a situation where I don't really want to say do this because it might not work, but if you are being bullied, like at school or something like that, a tactic that has always worked with me is because bullies thrive off of people reacting to something that is said, right? So they thrive on that. So it's like energy. It's a boost of energy. So if I say to you, Naf, the P word, right, you're going to react to it badly, okay? And I'm going to say I'm a bully. I'm going to get some energy off of that. Oh, he reacted. Therefore, I should do it again. I got a buzz out of it, right? Yeah. The best thing you can do is kind of just take that energy away. And what I've done to things, like there's a certain limit of what you can accept. But like, people used to say to me, Sam, you are sweaty at games. Sam, you are such a nerd. Sam, you are so keen. And it was like, okay, whatever. So what? I am keen. I changed my gamer tag on Xbox to Keen Sam. That's why it's Keen Sam.
Is that why it's Keen Sam?
Yeah, because people used to say like I was a nerd, and I was like, yeah.
So you use that energy as fuel to be like, well, okay, if you can say it, I'm going to say it to myself.
That's exactly what I did, and it was just like people would say, "Oh, you're so sweaty. You're so like, yeah, I'm good at Call of Duty. I'm also good at banging your mum." So, like, you know what I mean? I used to transfer that energy, and it worked, mate, like all the time.
Yeah. No, do you know what? You're so right. And I think for me, in that context of the P word, it's a bit different because I wouldn't call my gamer tag P word.
Yeah. That's what I mean, mate.
No, I'm just saying generally, but like in that sense, I guess back in the day in school or whatever it was being said, whether it was about like what I eat at home, my traditional foods, well, what about what I'm wearing or whatever, I guess I should have just ignored it. Like, sorry to go on again, but like there were times, like obviously we'd talk about what we eat at school. They'd be like, "Oh, I had this for dinner. I'd had that for dinner," but I was so embarrassed about what I ate because of my culture that I didn't want to get bullied, that I just lied that I had English, so-called English dinner every day. Whereas no, I'm happy to admit now I have curry most days.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain that to a kid at the day, but like a younger kid, but it's like I would flaunt it in a way, you know what I mean? So it's like I bet you, like your British food is nowhere near as good. You know what I mean? Just like that's what.
Yeah, it's just the words that people didn't realise had such a big impact on me as well. I guess because I had shit going on at home as well, which didn't help. Which, like I said, bullies don't really think he might be going through something, but like cultural kind of bullying is always a thing as well. Asian people get it, foreign people get any kind of, even probably like you said, British people get it as well, but I don't feel like they understand the extent of it as much as that we've been through it. But like they'd obviously
at all.
And I'm going to say it, like, I think because I want people to listen in on this and realise that this has such a bad effect on people. Is like, obviously, the words like curry muncher and like using these terms, you might think of it as a passing joke. You might laugh at it. But going forward, that kind of, it was like, I'm never going to mention the curry word again because I don't want people to bully me for it. And then you kind of lose touch with who you are and try to pretend to be someone you're not, which is what I feel like I ended up doing.
I can't believe it.
At a primary school level as well. Like, I think a 10-year-old kid should not be thinking that they can't be who they want to be.
I think with these days as well, like, I'm not going to negate it or anything, but I think it's a lot more... I don't know the stats, but I'd imagine people are a lot more accepting these days.
Yeah, I do think people surpass it a lot more. Not surpass it, what's the word? They kind of tolerate it a lot more and don't see it because the kids these days haven't been through the negative side of them words as such.
Yeah.
Whereas us, in our generation, I say our generation like we're old, but of our people, we've been through it from the worst ways, which is why there's such a negative connotation with these cultural like slang terms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not to be a pity party, but it is stuff that has affected me majorly. And even on little things like my design work, I've always sought reassurance from other people because of things that have happened in the past.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's just a reflection of how much it can affect you.
Yeah, from work and stuff. Like when I double check things, making that, all up to standard, like with my thing in academia, like it just stems from what people used to say to me as a kid.
Yeah, and slyly it is just to prove everyone else wrong. But I think the biggest takeaway from this episode is no matter what you do, don't do it because you want to prove someone wrong. Do it because you know you can do it. And you will realise the positives from that because you'll realise that the fulfilment you get for doing it for yourself over someone else is just next to nothing. You can't compare that. It's incomparable.
Brilliant. Should we cap it off there?
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a deep one. I mean, talking about personal experiences, it just goes to show a lot of kids out there, a lot of parents out there, a lot of adults out there are going through these emotions. Little things can have a big impact. Think about what you say and, just be so much more considerate and don't go off of face value. So just be supportive of your friends. And if someone's acting out, please just check in on them. That's about it, really. You can find us on our socials at Just Mates Pod on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, Just Mates Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And yeah, just keep interacting with us. We do these episodes for you, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And one more thing is, a lot of people have said to me recently is, as much as we kind of aim this at guys, because it's us two guys talking, it does resonate with a lot of people generally. And we aren't just saying that only guys can listen to this. If there's anyone out there that you feel like can benefit from a topic we've discussed, share it with them. It's not just for men, although that is our main goal. Everyone can relate to this. I'm sure a lot of people can. So yeah, keep on sharing.
Yeah, I was gonna make a quick comment about that. Screw it. I think I should address it. That podcast that we made, not the last one, the last one before that.
Yeah.
We decided to run with that after me doing exactly what I did.
It was very impromptu. It was a last-minute decision, but it was based on something you felt courageous to do, which is the biggest takeaway from that.
And I think because the reason I decided to do that, and because Naf, you even said to me, like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Like, are you sure?" I remember you saying me, and I said, like, no, I have to do this. And like, because the main thing in my head was, when I talk about depression, when I talk about anxiety, the majority of the time I'm not experiencing it.
Yeah, because you're in that mind state to having overcome it at that point.
And I found out, like, I thought, why not make this relatable to somebody who's perhaps doing the exact same thing, and why don't I tail off and just mention it and describe exactly how I feel so someone can relate to it?
I know that can be detrimental in the sense that someone that's going through it and listening to that at the same time probably will think differently about their behaviours, maybe try and do what you've done. But that's not the premise of these podcasts. The people that listen to these podcasts are people that are looking for advice. I know that for a fact, because this isn't an entertainment podcast. This isn't to make you laugh. This is something on real life issues. And the reason we made that decision to discuss such a sensitive subject such as self-harm, which we've done before, it's not like it was the first time we've mentioned it, and we had amazing feedback from the one we've done previously. Just because it happened so fresh doesn't mean that we should not talk about it. Like, bullying wise, if I was bullied yesterday, does that mean I can't talk about it today?
Exactly. Like, I that is just an amazing point, mate. 100%.
So it doesn't mean you a lot of these things, Sam, that and to the audience, not addressing this to you, Sam, we're still going through, but we're still talking about it, and we're not trying to say that we have the answer on how to deal with things. We're not trying to say that we are right. We're not saying we're wrong, but the takeaway is that we're talking about it. And if you don't talk about it, if we didn't talk about that, and Sam, you just bottled that up,
I would have been lying.
Maybe you would be in a different position now.
I would have been lying that whole episode if we'd have done something completely different.
You'd be giving fruitful advice. You'd be saying positive things, whereas your mind state is telling you, well, I don't even believe what I'm saying. And you would probably hear it in the authenticity of your voice that, oh, I'm listening to this episode and Sam's not actually engaged.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And that's why I kind of wanted to address it. I mean, and another point I will make as well, at no point did I say to anybody that they should do exactly what I did. In fact, I said do the opposite. I explained why I did it. I explained like how like better I was feeling essentially at that point when I was speaking to you, and we said the best methods to stop that happening, didn't we?
Yeah, we addressed all sides of it, and I can understand how people may have taken it to heart, maybe. People may have taken it personally, but the premise of our podcast is to speak up about mental health. That is literally it. We want to talk about things that are happening now, not things that have happened 10 years ago that we can't deal with.
Yeah, and it's like, I would rather... Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, I wanted to convey how I was feeling at that time so I could get the actual feelings out, and so somebody could at least relate to me. You know, when
I do feel like all the support you got from the back end of that podcast as well.
Everybody like loads of people messaging me.
Exactly, and nobody would have known you're going through that, and you wouldn't have felt like you've got so many friends that care if you didn't talk about it. And I know we're not saying that it was a right or wrong decision, but I personally feel like and I keep saying this, the whole purpose of our podcast is, and it's in our intro, is to destigmatize people not talking up.
Yeah, and
if we don't do that ourselves, there's no point of our podcast.
Yeah, and we just feel like frauds, mate. I just feel I would, if we did like another subject, knowing, both you and me knowing that had happened, we just...
I don't think I'd have been mentally ready to, especially as I fresh found out, I wouldn't want to be doing a podcast about, say we did it about ways to increase your serotonin levels. What's the point of us doing that if we're not even, like, our mind's not in it?
Exactly. And my mind was in that, and it was the only thing that was consuming my mind, so why the hell not talk about it?
Yeah, and apologies if anyone got it misconstrued, if anyone took it the wrong way, or if anyone felt like we were enforcing that you should self-harm, which we weren't. It was just a way of us overcoming them feelings and showing that support systems are available. We even listed the things you can, the people you can contact as well. So, but yeah, let's cap it off there again. I think we've kind of made our point. We just don't want to pick people to think that we are negating these feelings. We're doing it to help people, and that is the whole premise of our podcast. We want people to speak up, especially guys, and you being a guy, having been through that and overcoming it, still going through it, still recovering, just goes to show that these podcasts are helping.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been Just Mates podcast. Sorry to end on such an abrupt topic, kind of, but it needed to be said nonetheless. Yeah. So I've been the Feast, and this has been Just Mates.